People think, oh, these kids are so burned out, they're just lazy. It's like, no, they're working 40 hours a week, but at the end of the month, they have nothing to show for it. So if you're not making any progress and you look back 5 years and go, damn, I made $300,000 in the last 5 years, or I made $400,000 in the last 5 years, and I have nothing. If anything, I have $25,000 in debt. That's going to create burnout because you feel like you just put in 5 years of work and have nothing to show for it. And we still have people blaming them that, well, the reason you're broke is because of the coffee. It's like, no, it's the 25% inflation that we've faced that just destroyed people's spending power. It's the 30% increase in rent prices where people are spending 40% of their money on rent. You're still being taxed 20, 25, 30%. People just don't have any money. People aren't having kids. They're not being able to start families. People are struggling financially, fighting financially. Relationships are suffering. This is all decline in living standards. You realize millennials with degrees are living with roommates into their 30s, not having kids? How do you have a Thanksgiving in a 900 square foot apartment? How do you have a dog and go play in the backyard and make memories with your kids? I was living in an apartment complex just 2.5 years ago. Tons of kids. They may do, but they're all playing on the cement floors in the hallway because they don't have a yard. Because houses are $400,000. Humans are good at adapting, but there's a fine line between adapting and being taken advantage of, and I think we're being taken advantage of.
You're a young person like 18 to 22 years old and you're struggling with your bills. I want you to know it's not some personal failing of yours. Even 10 years ago, life was so much cheaper. It was so much more doable to be a college student. I don't even know how the fuck I would do it now. I'm 28 years old, and when I started college in 2016, I was living in a pretty decent sized, mid-sized city in the South, and I went to an ACC school. My first apartment that I had, I remember I got it in 2017. I paid like $700 for it, and it was like a one bedroom. Now, granted, it was a bedroom in a 3-bedroom house, right? But it was a brand new building, okay? And they were price gouging people. I then moved the next year in with some friends into a 4-bedroom apartment in a much more basic building. It was like a 2-level, kind of apartment complex. And my rent for my room was $350. I have the rent receipts to back it up, by the way. And I stayed there for 2 years. And the reason the rent was so cheap there was because the landlord had owned it for a while and was just grandfathering people into the old lease. And this has been going on, I think, for like a decade or something. But the fact that that was even a thing I could readily find. And I had friends who lived in the same city as me who were paying $500, $550 for their rooms. That was just what we were paying back then. I mean, I was able to work as a server and make like okay money. I wasn't making crazy money. I was making okay money, and I was more than able to pay my bills. Then the next year after I left that $350 apartment, I then went to another townhome with some friends, and my rent went up $50 whole dollars. I paid $400 a month for my rent there. And then I stayed there for 1 year, and then I moved to a neighboring city of also very decent size, and I moved into a 3-bedroom house, and I was so shocked at how I was going to be able to pay this because my rent was $600, $650, because I remember how much I had struggled the years prior, but now I had an actual job, and what do you know? It was super easy, super easy to pay that rent. I mean, it's laughable when I see young people being browbeaten for complaining about the reality, which is that I have since gone and looked at apartments in the old city I used to live in just to see. It's literally gone up like 2.5 times since I was in school. I mean, it's unfathomable to imagine telling young people it's like their fault if they're struggling, as opposed to the fact which was like, I was just born earlier than you. Like, that's it.
It feels like everywhere you look, people are asking the same question. How is it possible to spend less, work more, and somehow still feel like you're falling behind? The videos in this compilation all touch on different parts of that experience, but together, they show why so many everyday financial habits don't seem to work the way people expected them to work anymore. The frustrating part isn't just that life costs more than it used to, it's that even making the quote-unquote right decisions no longer guarantees you feel any closer to getting ahead.
We all just found out the minimum wage is supposed to be $66 an hour to keep up with the current cost of living. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field. I went to school for 8 years and paid back $80,000 in student loans. Since the beginning of this year, I've negotiated 2 big raises at my current job by forcing my current job to match the offer from 2 other job offers. These amounted to a total pay increase of 25%, which means I was underpaid by 25%. Thank you very much. And if you do the math, I now make $60 an hour. I make a whole lot of money compared to people who were poor, but it just hits different when you're supposedly killing it and you're still below minimum wage. I'd like to thank the boomers for giving us this reality and telling us for decades on end so many things that were never actually true. Oh, and also, you all are insufferable on the internet, complaining about our avocado toast and lattes. Avocado toast and lattes are because we just want to feel some happiness, because we realize this is all bullshit. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yo, this is not laziness. This is the economy falling apart. A record 25 million adults live with their parents, and roughly 70% of them ages 25 to 34 are employed full time. So that whole they just don't want to work argument is dead. People are working, people have jobs, some got degrees, some work full time, a lot work overtime. And they still can't afford rent, a car note, groceries, and basic everyday life necessities. That means the problem is not motivation. That means that the problem is wages aren't matching up to the cost of living. And then they got the nerve to call people moochers for staying with family when half the time they helping with bills, groceries, and utilities while still trying to save up enough money to leave. And at some point, we really got to sit down and admit that having a job does not mean you can afford to live anymore. So my question is this: how are young folks supposed to build a future when the cost of independence keep moving further and further away?
I feel like people really do fail to understand that we are in a affordability crisis. And what really gets me is that when you try to explain to the older generation, they'll say stuff like, live below your means, just don't buy expensive things. But they don't understand that even the lowest quality items are now unaffordable. People live in shitty one-bedroom apartments, shitty studios, and still paying $1,300 plus to live in that, in a bad neighborhood. So what happens when the low quality stuff are priced high, just like the luxury items? What do you do in that case? Because soap and deodorant are also expensive. $10 for soap and deodorant, that's more than minimum wage. And those are simple, common things that you literally need to have. You have to wash your ass. And a lot of people are living below their means. They're not spending on anything unnecessary. They're not really indulging in anything anymore, and they still can't afford to live. Even used cars, why are they priced so high? You're used. Like, people are trying to live below their means and still being priced out. So when that happens, what do you do?
People always say that if money's tight, you should just cut back for a while. That sounds simple until you realize a lot of people already have. They're skipping takeout, they're keeping the same phone for years, they're canceling subscriptions, they're saying no to vacations, they're driving older cars, they're buying generic brands instead of the name brands they actually want. After all of that, they finally manage to save up a little money. Then, rent goes up, car insurance goes up, groceries cost a little more than they did a few months ago, some random bill shows up that nobody planned for. That money disappears almost as fast as it was saved. After enough months of that happening, people start feeling rewarded by making smart financial decisions. Not because saving isn't important, but because the progress feels invisible. It's hard to stay motivated when every dollar you saved already feels like it belongs to the next unexpected expense. Eventually, budgeting starts feeling less like climbing a ladder, and more like trying to stay in the exact same place while everything around you keeps getting more expensive. That's what makes some people feel mentally exhausted because they're putting in effort, but the results never seem to last.
It's not work that's burning people out. It's wage stagnation. It's lack of meaning. It's the inability to actually participate in life because no one is making enough money to even be able to afford their housing, let alone a family or vacations or ever retiring. And so when you are climbing up a never-ending hill of sand that is collapsing on your face every single day, eventually you give up because you're not fucking getting anywhere. What is the point of any of this? So fuck yeah, 74% of people probably are experiencing burnout right now. And on top of that, we are watching societal collapse. And the future seems completely nebulous and uncertain. And there are more and more ecological disasters occurring. And we seem to be just edging World War III for, I don't know, close to a year now. So what do you expect from people? There is not a lot of joy in the way that we are living, and we are very disconnected from each other. And there is no easy third space to go to fix that. But it turns out if you don't pay workers enough to survive and you treat them like they're not even fucking human, your society stops functioning. And then on top of that, we watch these billionaires pay no taxes. And, Jeff Bezos this week said that humans don't deserve water and that it should all go to their fuck-ass data centers. So again, there's no point in living this life. There's not. And until a lot of shit changes, people are going to get worse and worse and worse when it comes to burnout and depression, and watch the birth rate collapse through the floor.
Why does every solution require more money? Need a better job? Go back to school. Want to move somewhere with more opportunities? Save up first. Need a higher paying job? Get another certification. It's like every time I think of a new direction for my life, my first thought isn't, do I actually want this? It's, can I even afford to try? And I think that's why so many people feel stuck. It's not that they don't want to move forward, it's that sometimes the cost of moving forward is exactly what's keeping people right where they are. And that's honestly why I've been trying to figure out, how do you change your life when every option feels like it requires something that you just don't have yet?
One of the most exhausting parts about money right now is that there's never a moment where it actually feels handled. For a lot of people, payday doesn't feel exciting anymore. It feels like a deadline. The money hits your account, and before you even have enough time to think about it, most of it already has somewhere to go. The money hits your account, and before you even have time to think about it, most of it already has somewhere to go. Rent, insurance, utilities, groceries, gas, phone bill, maybe a credit card payment, maybe a student loan. You cross one thing off the list just to add another one a few days later. Instead of building momentum, every month feels like pressing the reset button. Even getting a raise doesn't always feel like the breakthrough people imagine. A little more income can disappear surprisingly fast once prices creep up, or another expense enters the picture. That's why so many people feel like they're working full-time but still don't feel financially independent. It's not always about wanting a bigger house or a nicer car. Sometimes it's just having 1 month where you don't have to calculate every purchase in your head before you make it. When that feeling never comes, it's easy to understand why so many people start wondering why they're actually working. What they're actually working towards. The paycheck keeps arriving, the bills keep getting paid, life keeps moving, but that sense of finally being caught up always seems like it's 1 more month away.
Has anyone been asking themselves, like, lately, like, what's the point of literally everything we do, like, or anything that we're doing? Like, I've been crashing out at least, like, multiple times each week because I just don't enjoy life, to be honest. like I'm a firm believer in two things can be true at once. Like, I'm so grateful because I know that at least, like, in this country, in America, like, I know that genuinely we are privileged. Like, there's so much that we have, right, that in other countries might not be the case, and that's fine. That could be true, but that doesn't negate or it doesn't exclude the fact that it's still a system and it's not a perfect country or perfect government. And at the end of the day, like, it's irritating to me that for like generations we've decided to agree with a system of living and a societal norm, if you will, of how we measure success. And if we don't follow that standard, then it's kind of like you're falling behind, or you don't know what the real world is like, or you're ignorant even. And I'm kind of over it. And I'm also, like, over the whole older generations constantly bashing, like, Gen Z. And it's like Gen Z and the few millennials that have finally woken up to how much of a BS this system is that we've all agreed for the last years and decades and centuries. It's, like, ridiculous. Like, we work 9 to 5s, we get a degree that we attach our identities to a degree and our worth to that, and then we get a job that most of us don't really get the jobs that we actually like or the careers we actually enjoy. We get what pays the bills, and then we're expected to enjoy working pretty much 90% of the time just to then only have 2 weeks out of the year to go on vacation, to then only have 2 days of rest, which is not really rest because you're having to fit everything you can't do during your work week on your day off. So then when is there really rest? And then adult life really is just literally like everything you prioritize automatically neglects something else in your life. So it's this game of prioritization, and it's like exhausting. Like, I find all this exhausting. I don't find any enjoyment in it, and I feel like it's frustrating because I feel like no one's saying anything up until now. Like, people are speaking up about it now, and like realizing how, what if I don't want to live this type of life? Like, what if I want the simpler things in life? And it's like, it almost feels impossible, at least in this country, to even slow down, because it feels like here is all about success and making your own business and becoming a millionaire and getting your family on the other side and all these things. And it's like, oh, dude, like, why can't we just like live on a farm or live somewhere peaceful and like grow fruit and grow veggies and like have a simple life and not, you know what I'm saying?
One thing that doesn't get talked about enough is how expensive life changes have become. People don't just postpone moving out because they want to stay comfortable. A lot of the times the numbers simply just don't make sense. You look at rent, you look at deposits, you look at furniture, you look at groceries, then you compare all of that to what you're actually bringing home every month. Suddenly waiting another year feels less like a choice and more like the only realistic option. The same thing happens with so many other goals. People keep telling themselves they'll start saving seriously next year. They'll travel next year. They'll finally stop stressing about money next year. They'll feel settled next year. But every year seems to come with another increase in cost of simply existing. What makes it so discouraging is that your expectations slowly start changing without you even realizing. Goals that once felt normal begin feeling unrealistic. Things your parents reach at a certain age start feeling like something you'll hopefully get to someday. That doesn't mean people have become lazy or stopped caring. If anything, a lot of people are putting in more effort than ever just to maintain a lifestyle that would have looked completely ordinary not a long time ago. And maybe that's the hardest part of it all. It's realizing that you're not asking for some extravagant lifestyle. You're just hoping that working hard eventually feels like it's moving you forward instead of constantly trying to catch up.